Hello, welcome to the Bill Neese Football Coaches Show. I'm your host, Chip Hare, and with me is Coach Bill Neese. Coach, thanks for being with us once again on your weekly show. As you can tell, I'm not Lloyd Shoemaker.
No.
I'm stepping in for Lloyd this week as he is out of town, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be the host here. Before we get rolling, though, we want to thank our sponsors, particularly our main sponsor, First Choice Paint Body Shop, located on North County Road 25A in Piqua, across from Sherry's Car Dealership. If you get a dent in your car or need it put back together, come see First Choice Paint and Body Shop. And of course, we also want to thank our sponsor, Coverman, Staley & Dickerson, an independent insurance company with 3 locations in Miami County, 1 in Troy, 1 in Covington, of course, 1 here in Piqua. Coach, we were at a point in the season here where we're 4 games in. Tough loss for the Indians on Friday night, coming off of what was, again, a tough loss for us against Lima. But we responded very well right from the gates. We came out in our first possession and got a score. Yeah,
I think we did. I think there's a big difference between the Lima game and between the Northmont game and how well our kids responded. Our kids were pretty down after the Lima game, and I think we came back. We got our trust. We got a little bit of confidence back, and went down the field and scored. And at one point, we were able to have them down 14-3.
When you talk about coming out right from the get-go, Yeoman's obviously had a big score there with also a touchdown pass from Rupert. What was our game plan right from the go in terms of our attack offensively?
Well, offensively, we kind of felt like they were going to run a multiple front defense on us, and so we had just a series of maybe 3 or 4 plays that we wanted to use. That we want to make sure we knew how to block extremely well versus any of the fronts that we're going to see. So it was kind of a simplified deal with the approach that we were going to be able to execute versus any type of defense.
Obviously, we're no you and the coach of Northmont, Coach at Lancey's, no stranger to one another. As long as he's been there, you guys have been around a long time, so you're not going to throw each other a lot of new things. What did you see from them in terms of adjustments that they made once we got up 14-3?
I don't think, their big adjustment was that they stuck to their game plan. And their game plan was that they were going to run the football and they were going to throw the play action pass. And they consistently did that. Once they got a 7-point lead, once they evened things up, and at some points we were ahead, and then it got tied up. But once they got the lead, then they jumped into their H-back look, and they have a big kid that plays their H-back, and then they just put the ball on the ground. They kept moving the ball, and they grounded out. So that's obviously we knew going in that if we could stay ahead, that we could get them, to continue maybe to run that one-back offense and do more of the play-action passing. But we also knew that if we allowed them to get ahead, then they were going to tighten things up and they were going to run the ball right at us.
Well, it comes to, when you look at the stats, right, pretty even in terms of first down and even in yardage. The disparity comes when you're looking at the rushing yards.
Yeah.
That's right what you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. I think there's 2 big disparities when you look at and I agree with you, the rushing yards are probably the number 1, but the other one that jumps out is just third down conversions. And they were able to convert quite a few third downs, and we weren't able to do that.
Yeah, they were 8 for 13 while we were 4 for 11.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at trying to keep the defense off the field, that really is a big statistic.
Yeah, it is, especially, they're a no-huddle team, so, time's a factor there. And the thing you got to make sure of is every time you get the football, you want to take that possession and you want to savor it. It's not like you're going to sit on the ball, but you want to make sure you do something with it. And we really felt as coaches that that we were maybe in a position that we had too many 3-and-outs. And at bad times, and I don't know that there's a good time to have a 3-and-out, but there's worse times, and we had a couple bad times where we had a 3-and-out, and I thought the defense played relatively good in some spots. We ended up and got them out and got them on 3-and-outs 4 times, which is the most 3-and-outs we've ever had in a football game up to this point this year.
Well, you talk about possession, which I found very interesting when looking at the stats the other day. Our possession of time was 38 minutes and 20 seconds versus 21 minutes and 40 seconds for them. So we did have the ball quite a bit. But as you talked about, it's the 3-and-outs. It's when those 3-and-outs come.
And that one just when they got up on us, for the first time they got up on us, then the last thing we want to do is immediately go 3-and-out. Which number 1, 3-and-out is a twofold thing. It's a time thing, but it's also then if you're going 3-and-out. Think of the field position. The field position is now all of a sudden they've probably gained 20 yards from the last possession, so that thing's going to flip over a little bit easier.
We talk about mistakes and penalties and those. We really, at five penalties for 48 yards, Not bad for the Indians in that department. We did have one turnover, but again, I'm not sure how costly that is, but when you're looking at the big picture of things, certainly our penalties was something that you had to look upon as a positive.
Well, I think our team's generally a disciplined team, and I think we do a lot of good things well in terms of that regard. Yeah, the one turnover we had, it cost us a short field. We were on the other side of the 50, so it was tough. But you should be able to overcome one turnover a game, and to our offensive credit, we only had one for that particular game.
Let's go back to one particular point in the game when in the second half we were looking to score. I think we got a big play, pass play, and we were inside. We were in our red zone, and we couldn't punch it in, and we had to settle for the field goal. Does that psychologically have an impact on our kids, or I mean, obviously we're looking for the 7. Does that impact us in the long term?
I don't know. You go back and forth with that. Sometimes I know anybody that's been a fan of Piqua football, one of the things probably that people say a lot about me is the fact that I very rarely kick field goals. That I always try to go for touchdowns, and sometimes I would behoove myself to go for field goals. With that in mind, we have a pretty good kicker this year, and we just felt that since we had not gained any yards, I mean, we literally got stonewalled for 2 straight plays. That my thinking was, if we can get this 3, we can tie up 17-17, and it's fresh, it's brand new. And I knew the game wasn't going to end at 7. It was 17.
Sure.
But let's go ahead and start it over again and hit from there. I did know that if we would have got stonewalled a 3rd time, yeah, they would have had a long field. But on the other hand, there's a lot of psychological.
There's a momentum there.
Yeah, a
Absolutely.
lot of psychological stuff that can happen there. So you look at it in both regards. One way or the other.
When you look at the game, you're always, as coaches, wanting just an opportunity and your chances to win. And we certainly had chances at the end. We were down. We clawed our way back into it. In fact, there was when I look in particular, there was a point where Rupert had thrown a pass, and I don't know who the intended receiver was, but Bachman happened to be in the back of the end zone. By chance, it happened to be in his hands, and it fell out. So it wasn't a planned play. But those things happen. We did have our chances, and those are the things that you're looking for as a team.
You do. If you're going to be good, you have to have some luck. You always have to have some luck. And one of the biggest stories about luck, so to speak, in that same end zone play, the first year we went to Massillon, we had a reversal of that play. We had a team. We were ahead of a team, actually Loveland, by 4 points, and they had a 4th and goal. Exact same situation. They threw a pass into the end zone, and it bounced right off a kid's chest, out of his hands. And if that kid would have caught the ball, and it wasn't a particularly hard play, but if he would have caught the ball, we would have never made our first trip to Massillon. And sometimes you need a luck like that. And unfortunately, we didn't get our hand on the ball soon enough, or it might have been a different story.
Well, we're 2-2. We go into Fairborn at a team that is coming off of a loss against Sydney. So they're 1-3. We are going to their place, so anytime you're going on the road, there is no gimmies, and particularly in this league, there are no gimmies. We're looking for a win. We need to get back on the horse as we get into conference play on our own in terms of division. So what's some of the thoughts that we have as we're going in against the Skyhawks on Friday night?
Well, they're a little opposite of Northmont in the fact that they'll play a standard, one defense the whole time. So I think we'll probably be a little bit more diversified in what we're doing. I think that's going to be one of the big keys. I think another big key defensively is we've got to, they're a really good run-pass balance, and we've got to be able to deal with both the run and the pass. Third thing, special team-wise, I'm not happy with what we're doing with our kicking, so we've got to make sure that thing gets organized. And then the fourth thing, the most important in high school football, is anytime someone gets a couple plays on you, you always have what is called the copycat factor. And the copycat factor is that people will look at the film and go, oh, okay, they're susceptible to that, so let's go ahead and put that in. So I'm sure we're going to have to spend another week working at the play-action pass with the two-seam that we got scored on twice this week, and that's going to be something, and our offense is probably going to have to deal with a little bit more blitzing. So we'll get a little imitation. Coaches are, they're thieves, as we all know, and they're going to get out and watch film and steal something that you think is going to work, and so we're going to take that into consideration also.
Well, they're in a position too where they probably feel like they need a win, and this is a big game for them as they go into divisional play too. But we certainly have a lot of momentum going for us. We're trying to keep people healthy. Talk a little bit about our health. Where are we with our guys?
Actually, for the fifth game of the season, we're in pretty good shape. We lost it. We're going to lose a starter this week because of the concussion concussion deal. But in the meantime, we've gained a starter back, Derek Gullett, who's been our starting linebacker for the last 2 years, and we lost him with an ankle fracture. Practiced all last week and was cleared this week to practice, and he was in with the first team, already today. So
that's good news.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be able to go. That's outstanding news. It gives us a lot more diversity in what we do defensively.
And depth.
Yeah, we've now developed a ton of linebackers. So hopefully everybody will get a shot at playing.
Good. Well, we appreciate, Coach, your time talking about last week and this week, and we look forward to a win. And as we just take one game at a time, and it's hard to look beyond Fairborn, but divisional play is coming right around the corner. Nothing like getting a win before we get into divisional play.
Yeah, we got to be ready to roll once Fairborn's over with, then we got to get immediately in GWAC North.
Well, we are going to take a break here, and we are going to bring one of the legends of another additional legend outside of yourself here in Piqua football, Coach Chuck Asher. When we return, we will talk about the glory days of Piqua football with Coach Neese and Coach Asher. Hi, I'm Chip Hare, the host today of the Bill Neese Show, and with me right now is our senior defensive lineman, Jordan Taylor. Jordan, thanks for being with us today.
Nice to be here.
All right. Jordan, let's talk real quick a little bit about your season. You're 4 games into it. Is it hard to believe you're 1 week away from being halfway of your senior year, potentially being to a complete?
It's difficult thinking about sometimes.
Well, I can assure you that we're not thinking about the end of that because we got a lot of football to play. But let's talk a little bit about your position and what does it mean, first of all, to play for the Indians and play for a great program here at Piqua?
It means a lot to play for the Indians. Indians are a great program, and I love it here.
Talk a little bit about what's your favorite, if you talk about a highlight from your senior year or just from your playing career, what has been one of the great highlights?
I'd have to say last year's Sydney game, I got my first sack. And that was a good moment for me.
That was a big win for the Indians too, if I remember correctly. That was a great second half, and you'll never forget that sack, I'm sure.
No, sir.
As we move forward, as we get ready for Fairborn, and as we get into the GWAC season, what are some of the things that we should be looking for you, and some of the things that you do in the for the Indians on the defensive line?
Making plays, getting off blocks, making tackles, making plays.
What personal goals might you have this year?
Made lots of sacks, lots of tackles.
Big sacks. All right, good. Hey, one last thing. What hobbies do you think that you enjoy?
I enjoy a lot to do with the electronics and building electronics, stuff like that.
What's your major, and what are you thinking about going into school?
Electronical engineering.
What schools are you looking at?
I was looking at Bowling Green and a couple other schools in Ohio. I was looking at a little bit of UC, UD.
Those are UC, and I know Bowling Green particularly have good programs in that. So, well, we certainly wish you well, and we certainly thank you for coming by today to the Bill Neese Coaches Show, and we certainly wish you well as you finish the season and get the Indians some more W's.
Thank you.
Jordan, thank you very much. Again, Chip Hare with Jordan Taylor. Hi, I'm Chip Hare, back with you at the Bill Neese Coaches Show, and with me are obviously our head coach, Bill Neese, and our guest, former Piqua football coach, Chuck Asher. And Chuck, thanks for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. I enjoy being in this locker room. It's I remember the smell, and it's it's good for me.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Well, it's great to have you here, and you were not actually here at this particular locker room. You were at Wirtz, where the team played back when you were the coach from 1964 to 1977. And historically, I am sitting between two legends. Obviously, Coach Neese just recently broke the Coach Wirtz's record as the all-time winningest coach here at Piqua. But a lot of people may not know that beside me here, Coach Asher is the third time all-winningest wins with 77 wins. Right, Coach?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
You and I had an opportunity to spend a couple weeks together, or a couple weeks ago, spend some time together. Talk a little bit about Coach Neese, because he's a pretty humble guy, so he's not going to talk about how wonderful he is. Tell us a little bit, though, what does it mean to win so many games and through a career of over 20 years of coaching football?
Well, I think when you're in a program and build a program, what you see is even though there are up and downs, you've seen this program be able to rise to the top level under Coach Neese, and I think it keeps coming back that he's established a way to do things, and if you look around, you see his kids coming into the program believe in the program, and they think it's a real pride thing. And I always used to talk about Piqua pride, and I think you see that with Piqua kids who play.
And that's been carried on through the years. Obviously, I'm sure Coach would probably tell us that before he even took the job, it was probably embedded into him about what it meant to coach for Piqua. And Coach, obviously you guys have a lot of common ground, but when you took this job 22 years ago, obviously you probably didn't see that yourself, that it would get to the point where it is now, but you had an understanding of the history of the program and the great coaches that came before you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. We as soon as we rolled in here, you hear the great names of Asher, Wirtz, and then I was fortunate enough to start off my career with Steve Magto, and we went to the playoffs for the first 2 years under him, and I was the defensive coordinator during that time, so I got an opportunity to learn a lot. He allowed me a lot of responsibility both in the defense and also in the weight room, and I think that gave me a pretty good foundation of what I needed to do later on as a head coach.
As we talk a lot about our kids today, we talk a lot about, you said Piqua pride, and I think there's a lot of different ways that you say it. Our kids at this football program have started not just when they get to the high school, but at the younger years of their lives, of either playing in Pee Wee or youth football or flag football or whatnot through the junior high. But as a coach, and I don't care what year you coach that, and I'll pose this question to you, Coach Asher. How important is it for the kids to understand the expectations of not so much just a winning, but the expectations of being successful at a program like this?
Well, I think that's a very key element, and I think if you develop that with your program over the years, letting kids know that there are expectations, and that if they don't meet those expectations, it's like I always used to tell kids that were going to be seniors, that doesn't entitle you to play. A senior, and a lot of programs I've seen where kids think, well, I'm a senior, I'm going to be a starter. And my thoughts would be that if you are the guy that's going to lead and work and do the things to bring other people along, you probably will be a starter as a senior, but you've got to earn it. And I think that's like anything in life, you have to earn, and not somebody's going to give you an opportunity. I mean, they're not going to give you a job if you don't work at it.
Yeah, whether you're a young man that played in the 60s and 70s, or even today in 2014, the expectations don't really change, do they, Coach Neese?
No, they don't change, and football is one of the unique situations that it's not so much seniority anymore. I mean, it's nice. If it's the same as what Coach Asher had said before. It's nice sometimes that a kid may come in and say, "It's my senior year, it's my chance." What's your chance? If you make it, your chance. But it's all based on, I walk in there and I say, who are the best people? Who's the best people, and what best team can we put on the field to help us win? And with that in mind, when our players know that if you're good enough as a sophomore to play, you'll play, then it's wide open. That means anybody has a chance, and that's what I like about it. I like about the fact that our kids get in there, they get in the weight room, they get outside in the stadium and run, and they're going to compete. And once you know you have to compete for your spot, I think you're then more apt to compete on Friday nights when things get a little bit tougher?
We are in a different time, generation. Obviously, a lot of time has elapsed since you've been coach, but talk a little bit about what are some of the similarities. Coaches talk about work ethic and some of those things. You and I had a fun conversation talking about film. The differences in coaching in the 60s and 70s to today. Film still exists. It's just a different type of technology. For you, what do you see the biggest differences in coaching today versus when you were a coach at your time here at Piqua and even beyond?
Well, I think obviously technology, if you will, has helped coaching tremendously. I always think about this when I was coaching here. When I first started in '64, we'd have our game put on film, and then maybe around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd be down in Dayton picking it up and bringing it back, and we wouldn't have a chance to view it. I'd view it at home, but our staff wouldn't have a chance to view it till Saturday morning, where I think now you have a game and you can pass out the game film to each coach the way you want to, and so that helps break down what you need to do to get ready for the next game.
And when we talk about technology, it was 8mm film, right?
No, ours was 16.
16, that's right, 16, that's
it was
right.
16. And believe me, you became, that's one thing I was really good at was running a projector. And I could run that in a classroom as well. See, I was in a lot of classrooms as a history teacher, and I could put that projector on and run that film without a breakdown. And I've seen a lot of guys come in who started their teaching, they could hardly put a film in a projector. So that was one of the things that I got good at. Yes.
Well, let's fast forward now to 2014. There's no 16mm tape. We don't even have to spend the night all night like we used to years ago, Coach. Talk a little bit about how technology is used as soon as the game's over with in terms of tape and film.
Well, as soon as the game's over with, our tape is already up, ready to go on any form that we would like, whether or not it be our phone, our iPhone, our iPad, or whether or not it be on our computer. So it's immediate for us right there. It's immediate in 3 different angles, so we can see the front, side, and back. I think the second thing that's important is that when Coach used to have to get wind the 16mm in, sometimes they'd get in the off season, they'd cut them and make little cut ups, then you'd have your little splicer and put that together. I've seen stuff like this. I've seen the movies and everything, and we're in a great situation teaching wise that I can go in and look at a film and just mark bang 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 3 plays, and I can email it to one of my players. So on Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings, where Chuck might bring his quarterback in to watch film with him, on Tuesday and Wednesday mornings I email specific cuts of tape to our players on their phones, and then hopefully during their study halls or time when they have away from their studies, they're able to pull that phone out and watch those plays.
It is hard to imagine, Coach, when you talk about seeing you talk about emailing and you're just your face of shaking. You could just see the wheels turning, because when you come into practice on Saturday morning, you were just trying to get film together so you could watch it as a team and put it on the big screen.
Right.
By the time they come in on Saturday morning, everyone has had different angles and it's already edited and it's ready to roll for what we're going to look at, and it's starting to get ready for the next opponent. So technology has taken a long way. One last question before we wrap up here, Coach. As a former coach who now is a color analysis for WPTW.
Yes.
What does it mean to come back and to see Piqua after all these years as a former coach?
Well, I just truly enjoy being able to do it, and it's an awful lot of fun for me to watch Piqua play over the last couple of years from the booth, and I hope I'm always trying to be a positive Piqua guy in the booth. I don't make any bones about that. I mean, I give somebody some credit when they're playing against us, but at the same time, I think it's very enjoyable, and this is such a great facility to be in. To do that, and that is another thing I appreciate, that when I look around and look at the different schools, and it's just like going to Urbana. You know, I played, our teams played in Urbana when I was at Bell Fountain and at Piqua, and then I come back here, and this is such a great facility for a high school program, and then I talk to different people, and I know that they feel like this is probably one of the best in the state.
This is a little different than Wirtz, and certainly though Wirtz has a history, and we certainly appreciate that. And I think when we went to Urbana, we had a understanding that they've had that's a stadium that's been there a long time. And it is a nice stadium, but you know, we're very fortunate to have the facilities that we have, and it's nice to have you with us today and being able to come back. And Coach, one last question for you: as you were talking about knowing the history and the heritage of our coaches, I saw when I came in tonight is you guys were even talking X's and O's tonight, and the X's and O's don't change after all the years, does it?
No, they don't. They don't. And you know, I enjoy talking to Coach Asher every chance I get about some of the different things that they did when they were coaching. And I'm very fortunate because in our community right here, we've got Coach Asher that's around quite a bit. We've got Steve Magato that's around quite a bit, who I might add is the 4th winningest coach. Right. So we've got the 3rd, we've got the 4th that are both in the community and great supporters of the program, and that's great to have those. And I know Coach Dave Miller, who's a guy that maybe is a little underestimated sometimes in some of the work he did around here. He stops in on occasion, and I had a chance to get to know him a little bit over the years. So I feel very blessed that all the guys that coached before me are very supportive of what we're doing and what my staff and everybody's doing. So we feel blessed.
There is no question that Piqua is a special place. There's not very many places that are better to be than Piqua, and you feel that in here, and when you guys talk about the history, and you know that there are going to be great years ahead, and that's why we say we are Piqua.
Can I just add to this? Realize that I coached here for 14 years, and then I coached at Bell Fountain, and I coached at Lehman. But you know what? I never moved from Piqua. And I moved in my house in '64, and I still live in that house. So that might tell you something about how I feel about Piqua.
Because you were able to beat Troy your first year. I know that story.
Well, actions speak louder than words on that, Coach. And we appreciate both of you being here today. It's to talk about Piqua football and the history is certainly special to a lot of people. I know they'll enjoy hearing these stories. So for Chip Hare, standing in for Lloyd Shoemaker, I appreciate you watching today's show. And we are looking forward to the Indians going down to Fairborn. The kickoff is at 7 o'clock at Fairborn on Friday. So for Coach Neese and Coach Asher, I am Chip Hare for the Bill Neese Coaches Show.